supervisor Professor Di Stefano, co-supervisor Professor Merlino. Please, Professor Di Stefano.
Okay, so Dennis worked on a very interesting topic that is related to a problem raised up by the new quantum computing. That is, the Shor algorithm demonstrated that it's possible to break the asymmetric key scheme, cryptography scheme, that is one of the most used solutions for encryption. So nowadays there is this big problem of going beyond this solution, and Dennis tried to do a state-of-the-art review of possible solution that could overcome, could go in fact beyond this asymmetric key encryption, and could solve the problem of could be still, how to say, effective when
go to the internet to keep mine. Okay, this thesis is on post-quantum cryptographic system. We are in a new era of cryptography, and this research focuses on two algorithms for post-quantum cryptography scheme to close the security gap created by quantum computer attacks on our current public crypto systems, and to solve the issue of key sharing peculiar to symmetric algorithms. The dual layer scheme consists of homophonic encryption. You are hearing it for the first time. For encrypting database and identity-based encryption algorithm to secure data across network. Homophonic encryption is a novel substitution cipher technique that completely defeats frequency analysis. And on the other hand, IDE is very unique public key for managing, for key management. The use case of this crypto system is to protect our database from all known computer attacks. The experiment focused on bringing homophonic encryption to the spotlight, where we did experiment on the throughput and also Friedman frequency test to ascertain how, to validate how homophonic encryption beat crypt analysis. What is the current situation? Our current network architecture uses classical schemes, now considered obsolete in post-quantum cryptography. And the problem is that quantum computer has great computing capacity. So we are facing two security problems. One is the offensive cyber attack and defensive cyber security, how we protect our infrastructure. Shor factoring algorithm, when deployed as fast Fourier transform on classical computer, increase the speed exponentially. And therefore, you know, factorization is the backbone of our current network public key techniques like RSA. And so when we deploy this Shor algorithm in quantum Fourier transform on a quantum computer, the speed is, you know, quadratic, increased tremendously. So therefore, all our public keys cryptography can be cracked now. Therefore, we are no longer deeming them suitable for post-quantum cryptography. But however, when it comes to symmetric key, Grover algorithm can weaken them, but if you double the key strength, they become okay. Defensive cybersecurity, just recently, about some few years back, the National Institute of Standards and Technology launched a post-quantum cryptography standardization drive. And what is the goal? For security experts to create current, to increase the strength of current algorithm wherever possible, and to create new algorithm resistant to quantum attack. So I will give you a diagram of security strength under the classical our current way of evaluating security scheme compared to post-quantum way. So under the post-quantum way, you can see classical computing. You can see RSA and ECC. These are public key cryptography. Shor algorithm weaken it to 80 from 2024 bits. The key strength is considered 80 bits. But under quantum computer, it is 0 bits. But if you look at the SHA and AES, the key strength is half. When you double it, it becomes okay. So what is the aim of the experiment? To bring awareness to quantum attacks, computer attacks on our critical system, to review post-quantum cryptography standardization, to bring attention to the exceptional capacity of homophonic encryption, to thwart frequency analysis and its usefulness in protecting database, to point out identity-based encryption uniqueness in managing in key management, and then recommend these two algorithms to be deployed in a post-quantum scheme to protect database and secure our data exchange. The scope. Many people misunderstood what post-quantum cryptography is all about. It's not quantum computer cryptography. We are talking of two different subjects. In the case of quantum cryptography, we are talking of quantum algorithm that exhibit quantumness, that runs on quantum computer using hard map gate, the quantum gates feature that does superimposition and entanglement. But post-quantum cryptography, we still use our current classical key, just that we step the key strength or make new ones that are resistant to quantum attacks. The two algorithms used for the scheme. Identity-based encryption is a novel kind of encryption that you use just one master public key. The user used it to generate, you can have someone's personal ID, official ID, like tax code or email address, use it to generate their public key, consulting the central authority, and then you encrypt message and send to them. They now use their private key to decrypt it. What does this system help us? You don't have to generate plenty public key. You don't have to remember people's public key. You just only need to know their email address or ID to send. So it's an identity-based encryption scheme. You don't need certificates. Symmetric key, even like homophonic encryption, they use one key cipher. So you need a third-party certificate authority to exchange the data. But with the present, that is why algorithms have to run in scheme, one maybe with a public key. So in IB identity-based encryption, you don't need certificate because it handles that, and then the whole encryption is yours. You don't have to trust your private data to a third party. And there are many features of identity-based verification, encryption that is marvelous, like revocation. You can put timestamp to your message to expire so that the person needs to change that key in order to read the message. And also, ID is one of the encryption schemes that have many variants. So we are recommending it for crypto schemes. You can see how ID is generated using the master key. Then the extraction is where we distribute private key to participants. Then you encrypt message and you decrypt message. When it comes to substitution cipher, you need to understand substitution cipher to understand how homophonic encryption works. In substitution cipher, you replace a text with another text arbitrarily. But the problem with substitution cipher is that you can replace one text with a token continuously. So it emits frequency analysis, and therefore it can be cracked. But in homophonic encryption, your plain texts are always replaced with a unique token called homophone. So you don't have to replace the same text if you occur in your message twice with the same cipher. So homophonic encryption consists of plain text. The code book is where you like a dictionary with a token where you interpret the cipher that you are encrypting. So that is how homophonic encryption is done. It's basically substitution cipher. So in a literature review, you need to understand cryptography is mathematical. You need to know the standard that have been set mathematically. In post-quantum cryptography, there are 6 levels of ranking, and they use our symmetric key as base because they survive quantum attack more. The level 1, for instance, is AES 128. It can be cracked in our lifetime. It takes the fastest computer, classical computer, 100 trillion years to crack. In level 5, it takes the AES 256. It takes a quantum computer. It makes it as challenging as how a classical computer finds level 1. And you could see the level 1, 2, 3 to 6. 6 is sharp, 5, 1, 2. And you can see all the depth of the quantum gates that you have to phantom in order to crack it. But there are many public key algorithms now that, like Falcom and Classic, that are now ranked in one of these categories. The one I'm interested in this project is lattice-based encryption, which you use in identity-based techniques. You have it at level 1 and level 3 and level 5. IB history, I told you, is one cryptography that have a lot of variants, but I will just choose 2 out of the first and the last. The first by Bonnet in 2001 used elliptic curve, which is our classical way of doing scheme. But there's a recent one by Agra and uses lattice-based encryption, which is post-quantum secured. Frequency smoothing encryption, a review on it was difficult because this research I did, it's never, you can't really find it. So I have to contact a cryptographic specialist, Professor Paul Grob, if a research has been done on this homophonic encryption, the way I am seeing it mathematically. So he gave me the research of his colleagues. So what do they find? They found that actually homophonic encryption is an unbreakable cipher because each text must be replaced with a unique token. But the overhead becomes much the more you encrypt data. So they have to re-engineer the homophonic encryption to frequency smoothing, because the essence is to crack a cipher using the frequency it emits. So in the frequency smoothing, if D or AND is occurring twice more than another text, you use the homophone to replace those texts in that ratio. They can reoccur, but they discover that if you use that kind of cipher in database, it cannot be cracked because databases poses a unique set of challenges because the tuples are all unrelated to another tuples, and you have many tables and the data are distributed. So it poses a computational challenge for snapshot attackers, and they really tested it, do all the crypt analysis, and they find it very, very secure. So what is the architectural design? The homophonic cipher encrypts the database. It's a one-key cipher, like all symmetric key, but you have the anchor man, the IDE, that have to deal with the public network from the database to the public network. So the architect is distributed that way. You have the application server, you have people that are browsing, but this is how the scheme is envisaged to work. So this is the data flow model. You could see that the homophonic cipher is at the back end, encrypting the database, but you have the anchor man. If you want to distribute, you can't use one key to distribute to 500 people. Everybody can read whatever, but if you have the IBE, you can send the message you want directly to the specific individual you want, and that is the work of that is how this scheme is wired. The experiment and validation. Considering the time limit and frame for this research and the huge amount of information reviewed for post-quantum cryptography, the two algorithms and the experiment was conducted to bring homophonic cipher, which is little known about, to the public limelight. But I did a state-of-the-art comparison for IBE using the classical technique versus the post-quantum, because this IBE have many experiments published already. In the state-of-the-art comparison, we can find that BF is the classical scheme and GPV is the post-quantum scheme, the recent type using lattice technology. We can find that lattice technology runtime was 27 times faster when it comes to encryption and decryption, and the size of the key is reasonably okay, but the only problem is the extraction of the user key, which is the slowest. But remember, the extraction of the user key is only done sparingly when you distribute keys, not done always. So the research shows that LBC is promising and recommendable. The experiment show on homophonic encryption to secure database is done to explain how we can defeat frequency analysis, and also the throughput of homophonic encryption was done, and then the experiment was analyzed. The experiment was done using crypto tool, and you could see if you extract the dictionary is arranged in frequency, you could see the bars there. You could see D is the most highly occurring word. So if you don't use homophone, people can crack that encryption. So this is what we use in building up the cipher. So the cipher was done in crypto tool in modules: plain text, code book, dictionary, cipher text, and whatsoever. So this is a long. So the throughput is very simple. I don't want to bug you with so many. I took the first and the last. In the first, you could see the code book is 506 kilobytes, which is the size of the key, because that's the key this cipher uses. You can see that the throughput is slow. But when it comes to the lowest code book, you see the throughput is higher. That's to show you that homophonic encryption will be very good if installed as frequency smoothing algorithm. The Friedman frequency test. There is something special about this frequency test because it's also called kappa test. There are two extremes, 0.038 and 0.066. If your cipher is at the lowest spectrum, it means it cannot be cracked. If it's at the highest spectrum, that's 0.66, it can be cracked. That's the range. So I will show you the one I did. You could see it picked 0.038. It shows that this is a polyalphabetic. That means you are substituting not just letter, but a whole word, which is more difficult to crack, homophonic encryption. And this cannot be cracked, but these are sample case. In the second sample case, the cipher is at the lowest extreme. This is just substitution of letter, and it didn't use homophonic, and you could see the bars are not smooth. This can be cracked because it's emitting frequency. And in this one, the target of every good cipher is to smoothen the bar. This one is at 0.41. It can be substantially cracked. So in conclusion and summary, data breach has become a problem globally in the security of quantum computer attack. So this research is focused on bringing post-quantum scheme into our database, and I believe we make our data exchange very good in this scheme, and then homophonic, we protect our data. And these two ciphers are very promising, both as a theoretical model and a practical concept. Thank you all.
Anything can be applied to different way of organizing the data on a database. You say something
Yes.
about it?
Yes, homophonic encryption can be applied across all data. But the reason why I find a use case, because some specialists also find a use case in database, is that if you use homophonic encryption without converting it to frequency smoothing algorithm, you have a large overhead. That means you can't encrypt big data. But when it comes to like database, you can tamper with the as frequency smoothing. Frequency smoothing is an algorithmic technique because you are targeting, first of all, you have to retrieve data from a big corpus, get the frequency, and then you target it. You understand how your data is being encrypted. So yes, it can be used across all spectrum if you apply frequency smoothing techniques. Thanks.
Other question?